U.S. election news. After winning party nominations, Biden and Trump will face off. In order to secure their respective parties' nominations for the next November election, U.S. President Joe Biden and his predecessor Donald Trump have both crossed the delegate thresholds. Tuesday saw the primaries for 4 states, 1 U.S. territory, and Democrats abroad. This outcome implies that in 8 months' time, American voters will have to decide between 2 candidates for president. Party conventions this summer will formally announce the nominations. To celebrate his re-election victory at a moment when the menace Trump poses is bigger than ever, the 81-year-old president took to Twitter on Tuesday night, expressing his gratitude to the people who had supported him. He claimed the United States was in the middle of a recovery thanks to improving economic conditions, but it was still up against threats to its democratic future and efforts to limit abortion and eliminate social programs. "I am certain that the American people will opt to continue our progress into the future," stated Mr. Biden in a campaign statement. Mr. Biden had an inherent advantage as an incumbent and had no formidable opponents in his pursuit of the Democratic nomination. The party machinery rallied behind him despite supporters' ongoing worries that he is too old to effectively carry out the responsibilities of the president. Possible election-changing foreshocks. Younger candidates should have had more opportunities, say voters. The pivotal moment in the Biden v. Trump campaign. Mr. Trump, 77 years old, has been able to win over wealthy opponents in Republican primaries because he is still well-liked by the party's core voters. He has promised to close the border and execute record-setting deportations as part of his push for tougher immigration rules as he runs for a second term as president. Also, Mr. Trump has promised to put an end to the conflict in Ukraine, increase domestic energy production, tax foreign imports, combat crime, and restore America First stance in international affairs. Because both men have been unstoppable up to this point, the outcomes of Tuesday's contest should not be surprising. Despite polls showing Americans are unhappy with the thought of another battle between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump in November, their renominations appeared practically inevitable. Each U.S. state competes with the others in the presidential primaries and caucuses for the chance to nominate the party's delegates. Although the specifics of the Republican and Democratic primaries differ somewhat, the procedure is otherwise identical. Winners receive party delegates proportionally or as a whole from each state's allotted share. To win the Republican nomination for president, a candidate must receive 1,215 party delegates during the primary season, while the Democratic contender needs 1,968. Republicans had caucuses in Hawaii on Tuesday in addition to primaries in Washington state, Mississippi, and Georgia. Aside from the states of Georgia, Washington, and Mississippi, the Northern Mariana Islands, and Democrats residing overseas also had primaries. It seemed almost inevitable that Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump would win Tuesday's primary elections because their primary opponents had already withdrawn. Earlier this month, after losing 14 states to Mr. Trump on Super Tuesday, Mr. Trump's final remaining opponent, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, stepped down. The 2024 general election is already well underway, even though a number of states still have not held their primaries. With Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden having won more delegates than any other candidate, the race is heating up. November 5, 2024, is the date of the U.S. presidential election.